Listen. Continuing the Sundance 2020 coverage are some of the best horrors we got at Sundance. The film festival, like many others, has an entire category dedicated to them, usually called Midnight. Tiff adds the word madness. Austin boasts about them as their headliners. And the Oscars, they pretend they don't exist. But I think we're about to have a great year in horror. Let me explain.
All of the women in the film are named after my mom and her sisters. I feel like I owe a debt of gratitude to Black women, and I didn't really want to moralize getting a weave or not. I wanted to sort of make us something about the system that sort of gives people just one or two choices in order to move ahead.
So Bad Hair is Justin Simien's new movie that takes place in 1989 within the world of music television, and it involves a haunted weave who's bloodthirsty. Now, I really do like Simien's previous work. He premiered Dear White People at Sundance a couple years back, but I prefer the series version that's on Netflix, and I really do like the new movie. At least the first half. There's been a great shift recently with the attention certain stories are getting, from Hair Love winning the Oscar to, hiring talent that knows how to manage people's hairs who don't go to great clips. So this movie may go places. But people are also split on it. I love the lore that was set up in the first half that actually made me invested into the supernatural elements with the way that they set up the history to it. Because many times you watch a horror movie and you're like, if you don't buy the supernatural world, then what's the point? And this one did a good job at the beginning, and then in the second half, it kind of fizzles out. The early critique on the entertainment industry and how they manipulate culture into becoming a cult kind of fizzles out with the aforementioned horror again in the second half. And there are a lot of good critiques from both sides that I'll link down below. But I just gotta mention, why is this man's score getting counted twice on Rotten Tomatoes? The hell? Elle Lorraine is great in the lead. I had seen her in a couple episodes of Insecure, and I'm hoping this lands her a lot more roles. But the whole cast is pretty stacked. The sound effects are insane, and it's shot on film with Justin going about getting as many practical effects as possible. It's clearly based on Korean body horror, and that serves a huge influence, along with all of the diopter shots, the zoom-ins. The whole thing is very 80s. This man wants you to feel like you just found this VHS that was lost. And while I think he achieves that majestically many times, it is 2020, and I think putting a little bit more money into the effects in the second half will make them a little bit more iconic, because you'd be future-proofing, and I just don't want the movie to age on arrival. It has been picked up by Hulu, and hopefully they pick up some of Justin's other folklore ideas that he has. He's mentioned them in the Q&As, or at least, at the very least, let him do a good episode of Into the Dark. Possessor was in the World Cinema category since it's a Canadian-British film, but really could have fit in with the Midnights. It's the new body horror film from Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg, who previously did Antiviral and a TIFF short that was kind of similar. Pretty much we follow Andrea Riseborough's character, who's an assassin for this corporation who uses his brain tech to help her possess other people's bodies and then kills through them. But then she ends up in Christopher Abbott's body, and he's like, hold up, who's there? The story definitely drew me in, and I wasn't disappointed by it. I personally think there's enough there to catch on a rewatch, but they definitely were more excited about the practical effects. This image right here, along with a lot of the other prosthetics, were made out of waxes and materials to help it melt in front of the camera with as minimal CG as possible. They even did all of the flares on set, which is the only thing that I might say is, they were excited to do this, but a lot of people may just think it's just flashing lights up on the screen and be bored. Brandon also argued that the violence that they show in the movie, because they go above and beyond, is integral to the story, and that's why, they did it. That doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be everybody's cup of tea, so there is that warning, but I enjoyed it. I like the premise, and I think a lot more can be done within this world. I love the idea, and especially with the ending. I think it makes it worth the watch, and definitely can spark a fun discussion after the movie, if it gets a big enough distribution. Relic, on the other hand, is produced by Jake Gyllenhaal and the Russo brothers, so this will definitely get a release. It's the first-time feature from writer-director Natalie Erika James, following 3 generations of women, a grandma, a mom, and a daughter, who are haunted by a manifestation of dementia. And this bad boy is such a slow burn, but I love the ending. The production design is great, the stunting goes all out, but I'm really curious to rewatch it mainly for the sound. Sometimes you get put into a theater with the surround sound it really isn't there compared to other theaters, and considering that with horrors especially, the person who gets hired to mix the audio and, for their skill set, all of that is just gone. I definitely want to revisit it for that, but if anything, the biggest criticism I have for the movie is the all is lost effect, and by that I mean, it's very personal. If you've seen a lot of movies where someone is stranded out at sea, that doesn't make All Is Lost a bad movie. you just know the points. This is kind of like the haunted house story where they're always looking for the grandma, and for the first hour and a half, the scenes, well, I'm not saying that they're bad. It is a lot of, Grandma? Is that you? And it never is. It's just that over and over until you get to the ending. Again, not taken away from the little nuances that are there, but our group did come out split with the build-up, but I think we all really, really like the ending. I'm trying not to say anything about it. I'm just curious to see how people embrace it.
I think the film is really about how there are more horrific things in life than death. And the feeling of becoming a stranger to someone who brought you into the world. Those are, the true horrors, I think.
Thank you guys for checking out this video. Just some quick roundups to put on your radar for some of the horror movies that stood out to us. There's a bunch of other ones that are coming out that are coming from Sundance, but are also coming from South by Southwest. A lot of these are also replaying at South by Southwest. And I'm also very curious to go to Fantastic Fest this year because I know that, Austin just really pushes horror films. And I really think that this is the year that the Oscars, I don't know. We've talked about that in the past. They really never, give shout outs to horror movies. I think like the last one was Silence of the Lambs, but I'm curious to know your thoughts on this. If there's any other horror movies on your radar that you're very excited for, some of the other stuff you may have seen at festivals that I should have on my radar, anything dealing with horror movies, any thoughts on these right here, definitely let me know your thoughts down below. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, or Andrea will possess you.